So just to reiterate, her side of the story so far with this first officer is a drug addict. He sleeps with prostitutes. He's suicidal now as well. And he's a kidnapper, which obviously he is. Hi guys, my name's Dawn, and if it's your first time here, welcome to Lounge Bar Crime. Let's get into it. It's the 5th of August 2016 and Denise Winchester is sat in Leon County Sheriff's Office reporting the fact that she's just escaped a kidnapping by her estranged husband, Brian Winchester. You can only describe Denise's actions this day as bold, audacious, reckless, or just plain hard-faced. Her main objective this day is to put Brian Winchester behind bars for life. She's absolutely oblivious to her own arrogance. Denise is totally unaware at this point that all the officers that were originally involved in the disappearance of her first husband, Mike Williams, 16 years previously, are watching her from another room, one of which is a brother-in-law, David McCraney, a police officer. Denise Winchester has decided how today is going to play out for her, and it's not going to play out how the police officers think it's going to play out. It's going to play out how Denise has intended it to. One by one, every one of these officers is going to go in and speak with her, and every one of them are going to offer her a lifeline, of which she's got no intentions of taking. She's got one thing on her mind and one thing only: Brian is going away for life. Detective Salvo is the first officer to enter this room where Denise is. He doesn't get a chance to sit down before Denise inquires about a Mike Phillips. He was an investigator she spoke to years ago regarding her first husband.
I know Mike Phillips real well. Does he work here?
Mike Phillips?
Or is he not sheriff? I always get that confused.
It was a Ted Phillips. Alright, what's your name?
Denise Winchester.
Detective Paul Salvo, that's currently in the room with Denise, he knows very well who Mike Phillips is, but at present is playing everything low-key. Currently, all the investigators that was on this case previously are still on the way to Leon Sheriff's Office to get into this room to watch how this plays out. He's asking her name. He knows very well who she is. They intend to take today really slow with her, so that one by one each one of them can go in and see what they can get out of her. I'm not sure at this stage whether she's asking for Mike Phillips because she thinks all them years ago he was a bit of a pushover and she's asking for him because she'd prefer to speak to him, or if she's finding out if he's still at them offices, because if he is, he might bring up about Mike Williams. So at this stage it's a bit hard to work out. Also, when Paul Salvo, the detective in the room, asked her name, she said Denise Winchester. Just keep note of that for later. The officer in the room knows exactly who she is, even though he's just asked her name. This has been done in a way so as not to alarm her and to downplay her turning up at these offices.
Just give me a rundown of what happened today.
We're almost in the 4th year of our separation and divorce. Another divorce date is looming Wednesday. I walked out of my house about 9:10. So then I pulled out on Mississippi Road. I was calling my sister, and this person starts climbing out of the very back, and I couldn't tell at first who it was, but then immediately I knew who it was. So I was screaming, help me, and then he grabbed the phone. So I don't know if he turned it off. I don't know how. I never saw the phone again.
I think it's interesting to know at this stage that Denise is describing something that most people would consider horrific, and she's just like monotone. She's not in any way distressed.
He pulled my face pretty hard, and he goes, he's cussing, you will turn here, you will turn here, blah, blah, blah. And I kept going straight down because, I didn't do what he told me to do. So then he goes, I'm going to effing hurt you if you don't, you turn here. And I kept going straight again. And I turned around and I go, what do you mean hurt me? And he pulled out a gun, like a gun, not a hunting gun, but like a gun he would kill someone with. And he put it right here in my ribs. He put it right here. And he goes, with this. And he pressed it in there. You will turn. Well, I kept, in my head, I was like, I'm making it to CVS because that's our CVS. And I was just like, I'm making it to CVS. And he took the wheel and was trying to force it to turn. And I took it back and I parked right at the front door. Camera's right there. Like I knew, because I go there all the time, that there are cameras there. So I parked right there at the front. Well, finally, he just kept saying, I just want to talk to you. Talk to me. I just want to talk to you. So then I was just like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to, I want to talk about the divorce, blah, blah. And so as he started talking and asking me to call the divorce off, he eased back and he ended up sitting in that seat.
She's at CVS and she's noticed that he's sat back. It's as though she's reading his body language. She knows exactly what she's doing and she's totally in control. And what's more, Brian knows this as well, and he knows that he's being watched by cameras. So although he's acting as though he's still in control and he wants her to speak to him, they both know that Denise is holding the reins now.
So the gun stayed there a little time. He finally had let go of the seat, so I was still buckled in, but I was turning and I was like, what do you want to talk about? So then he was like, you won't answer my text, I had to do this because you won't answer my text or my calls. Please just call the divorce off. I've lost everything, blah, blah, blah.
She's supposed to be explaining what's happening. Now, Brian wants to speak to her about not getting a divorce. She knows that if she divorces Brian, she can be a witness against him in court regarding the Mike Williams case. So she's holding all the cards. She's now going on to tell the detective, more or less, that Brian's son Stafford has found photographs and everything in Brian's phone. I don't know what he's doing in his phone. She's telling the officer that Brian sleeps with prostitutes. I don't see as that matters to her, really. She's not sleeping with him. She doesn't want to be with him. So what does it matter who he's sleeping with? But you'll find out in this, as I'm bringing things up, there's certain things that she keeps repeating all the time. One of them's prostitutes. She continues on about these photographs, saying that Stafford has got information on all this that's in his phone and everything, and then she goes on to say that's all the proof that we have. What is she doing going into cahoots with his son against him?
This is a side note, but his son left him because the son is 17 now, went through his phone, Brian's phone, and found out that he's been seeing prostitutes. They found the website. They know the girls have been in the house where my stepson was living, and that they've been doing drugs, because there's a text about drugs back and forth. And Stafford, my stepson, took pictures of all the texts from Brian's phone. He took pictures of everything he found in the house. So that's all, we have proof of all that.
She already took her daughter away from Cheryl, and now she's got Stafford on her side against his dad. I mean, I hope Brian has an idea of what it's like to lose a kid, or access to a kid, like Cheryl has. But yeah, so how does she expect him to behave? He's got absolutely nothing.
And so I just kept saying, you've got to stop living that way. You could get us all back if you'll just turn your life around, because he was a Christian at one point.
So just to reiterate her side of the story so far with this first officer, he's a drug addict, he sleeps with prostitutes, he's suicidal now as well. And he's a kidnapper, which obviously he is.
I was like, if you'll just turn back to the Lord. So the whole time I'm turned this way, I'm buckled in, but he's calming down. And so, but the gun's still right there, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And he's like, what am I doing? I could tell he was, and I was like, I don't know. I know you want to talk to me, but this is not the way to do it. I know. What have I done? It's like he kind of woke up, like, what have I done? What have I done? And I was like, listen. I said, let's go to your dad's office and talk to him. I said, I don't want you arrested. I just want to get past this. This can be your rock bottom. Do you think this is your rock bottom? What do you think? So I mean, I could tell. We, and I kept saying we. And so then he called his dad on. So I didn't yell out. I didn't say anything. And he hung up. And I said, Brian, let me go to work. Let me go to work. Show my face. People are going to wonder where I'm at. You call me at work, and then I'll come out and meet with you and your dad. I will not call the police. I promise. I promised a million times that I wouldn't call the police. So then he went from the seat to the back row and put his knees there and started pulling stuff out of the back and shoving it into a backpack. And I saw sheets. I want to say plastic. It was maybe a sheet and a plastic something. I don't know. But then he had a bottle, which it was like, those old-timey bleach bottles that are like white with the sprayer thing. A huge one.
It was like a spray thing?
Yeah. He had that, put that in the backpack, and then something else. And when I saw the bleach, I was like, oh my God, like I just kind of lost, like in my head, I kind of lost it.
She's absolutely brilliant. She goes on here now to explain to the officer, to Paul Salvo, how she's calmed him down, and then he's getting this like a rucksack out of the back and he's putting things in it, and she's describing these things that he's putting in it, and she says, I want to say a plastic sheet, bleach. I mean, that screams murder. A tarpaulin and, well, tarp and bleach. And she'd also mentioned that there was a tool. Now, I know in my previous video I did say that Brian was found with tarp, bleach and a tool, but the fact is, when Brian actually got to court, he did a plea deal. For him to get this plea deal, he had to promise that he didn't tell any lies at all, and that if he was found out lying in any part of the case, he would lose the option of this plea deal and he would just end up going to trial. So everything he said, he had nothing to lose. Well, he had everything to gain, because he'd only been given 20 years for the kidnapping. Get into all that in a bit, but he actually said in court it was spray water, and he'd put that spray water on the outside of his windows, or her windows of the car, so that when she came up, it just looked like dew or rain or something, and she couldn't actually see in and see him, and that the sheet was a sheet to cover himself with while she got in the car. It wasn't a plastic sheet at all. But you'll hear, I mean, I've not even put it in the amount of times she says bleach. However, it kind of changes later on, so watch out for that.
But all he wanted was to talk to me, for me to call the divorce off. And intermittently he would say he was going to kill himself. Brian also promised he would tell his dad everything and he would go away to rehab. He's supposedly being treated for sex addiction. So he said he would go away to rehab.
So when she drops Brian off, she doesn't bomb it to the sheriff's office. Oh no. She goes and picks her sister Deborah up first, who's married, by the way, to a police officer called David McCraney. We'll get to him in a bit. I actually feel he's a good cop, him, and he seems a nice guy, and it's just a shame that she's rolled them all in to this shit of hers that she's putting them all through, including her daughter. But she doesn't think that of involving people in her life. You'll see this as it goes on. By the way, a sister is at the police station with her, and she's waiting in another room.
Make him really mad. And so I called Deborah, my sister made me call her husband, who's a policeman, and he said, you have to turn him in. But I've already told you everything, but I still don't know if it's the right thing to do, because it's going to make him so mad. And then you guys, I can't have a 24-hour policeman with me, and he's going to, if he gets arrested, if he doesn't, he's going to be free at some point. I have a daughter. It's not his daughter, but I don't know. That's exactly what happened.
So she's looking for reassurance from the detective that was in there with her, and she said, oh, he's going to be so mad. I mean, that's just so out of character for her, but she does this quite a lot. Like, I don't know. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what her aim is today, and this is what I'm talking about, where she mentions the bleach and him sleeping with prostitute. I don't know why she keeps going back to that, but she does. And he's going to be mad at me because now he knows I'm a liar. I think that's the least of your problems, Denise.
Denise? Hey there. It was a victim advocate at the sheriff's office. Are you okay if we chat for a minute? Paul's up there talking about dispersion.
So the next person to come into the room is the protection officer. So she goes through the story again. This protection officer just needs to leave the room for a moment, and Denise is sat there, and you can tell she's mulling this over, and I think in her mind she's thinking, why is everybody just so calm about this? You know, you can tell Denise Winchester likes drama. She's not happy with her life unless she's got something going on. So she's sat there and she's thinking about it. The protection officer goes out and walks back in, and this is where she makes a bigger impact on the protection officer. Like, he's going to do this to me, he's going to do that, so she can G this up and really It's too calm for her. She wants this to go full steam ahead because she needs him locking up, and she needs him locking up now.
I'm very worried because I promised him, I got out of it because I promised him that I would not come to the police, and I promised him that I would go straight to work, and I blocked him from all my other stuff, but he can still call my work phone, so he was going to call me to make sure I was there. So obviously I'm not there, which means if he called me and I wasn't there, then he's going to start looking. He's looking for me right now. I know it.
You can see how she's trying to escalate the situation to make it sound a lot more dangerous, and that they just get him, they lock him up and throw away the key, basically, because that's what she wants.
What does that mean, valid injunction?
An injunction is an order of protection. So it's like a restraining order, and it's going to prohibit him from having any contact with you, and you can include your daughter in that, okay?
So Denise is a bit more relaxed now. She's got the form to do the injunction, although she's just asked the protection officer what exactly is an injunction. She knows exactly what an injunction is, but everything's going smoothly, and this is what happens for Denise. This is how Denise gets what she wants. She's still unaware that in the next room up the corridor, she's being watched by loads of investigators that know about the Mike Williams case. So she thinks she's no one in there, and that she's just getting these procedures done. They're going to go and get Brian. It's going to appear in court, and that's it. Job done.
But today, for the immediate, that's what I think we need to prioritize, is the injunction.
This is Brian's dad calling me. I'm not going to get it because I know they're looking for me now.
Well, let me step out and see if Detective
Okay.
Sala has anything.
She's just told that protection officer that Brian's dad is calling her, Marcus. I'm not going to get it. And she goes back to a paper. The protection officer goes out of the room, and the minute she's gone, she leaves this injunction again, this form that needs to be filled in. She leaves that again, and she sits there texting. She's texting away, and she does this every time she's left on her own. She's on that phone. Now, let's not forget that even though we don't know at this stage who she's texting, she did text Kathy, which is Brian Winchester's first wife, to say, tell Marcus to let Brian know that I'm not speaking. So, I mean, I don't know what she wants. Sit there, sit tight, Brian. I'm not speaking. You just sit there and you wait till you're arrested. I'm not going to speak. I'm not speaking about me though. I'm just going to speak about you, if that's okay. She's unbelievable. You know, I'm talking about this Denise in this case and everything, and you know, I'm saying like she's unbelievable. You've got to remember that whatever Denise has wanted in the past, she's manipulated and she's got it. She acts like a victim constantly, and then she'll take control of a car when she's being kidnapped with a gun in her side, and then she's saying, oh, he'd be mad at me, so everybody's running to her rescue. She's very, very good, but the thing is, nobody has stopped this behaviour from her. It's worked for her. This works for her, so this is why she's doing it. The next detective to go in is Detective Wilkerson. Now, he goes in on the understanding that he's there to take details of the car. This is a ploy, this, by the detectives. What they're doing is they're trying to keep her there as long as possible, because they're trying to get hold of Brian Winchester as well. So they're trying to keep her there. They want her there. They want her calm. What they keep doing as well is they keep more or less start at the beginning again with what she's told the previous and I'm here about the car. So what happened in the car? So she thinks she's giving evidence to do with the car, although it does move away from it slightly. But he just kind of goes back to the beginning. He even asks her name. She just thinks that each person is dealing with a different part of this case. But as I said, they're doing it like this because they don't want her to start grabbing a bag and getting up to leave. They're trying to make it look as though there's quite a few procedures that she needs to go through. The protection officer for the injunction, this guy Wilkerson to do with the car. It's really good the way that they're doing this. Anyway, watch this.
Hey, I'm Detective Wilkerson. They mentioned anything to you about processing your vehicle where this all occurred?
What does that mean?
That evidence where, you know, we can put it together to, in addition.
My car's right out front.
Right. What I need from you, I just need your okay to do that as well. Yes, ma'am.
That's fine.
What's your name, ma'am?
Denise Winchester, and he's texting me. I have him blocked, but he uses these text apps and figures out ways to text me, and so I know he's looking for me because I was supposed to be at work, and he was going to call me at work to verify I was at work, and I'm not at work.
Okay.
I just want to mention that in case he's, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, for sure, you can go in my car.
She's rabbiting on about, oh, he's found me at work and blah, 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 she says. And then she says, oh, he's texting me right now. And she carries on talking. But in the middle of that, you hear Wilkinson says, what's he texting? And she goes, oh, I don't know. And carries on chatting. She knows not to let that phone go. And then she goes, but yeah, you can go in my car. So she's starting to deflect now. She's still not suspicious about anything. She's still relaxed. She thinks that she's got them over a barrel. That's what she thinks. However, Wilkinson says again, what is he texting? And she holds the phone up and reads it out. And then when she's finished doing it, she drops it straight back in her bag. She's not handing that phone over. She's still not handing it over.
What is he texting you? Just where are you?
Yeah, he would call me. And he wants me to call him.
Okay. Yeah. Can I see what he's texting?
Yeah. And it's from numbers that please call me, and that's his cell, but I block him from everything, so he finds random numbers on text apps, and that was sent at 5 till 1. Okay. What that means is he's called my work, I didn't answer, so now he's looking for me. And when I left him, when he left me, he was calm.
So she's got 2 officers in the room now. So, oh yeah, the stage is theirs. She actually starts laughing about how she got the car back in control and how she didn't do what he asked her to do. I mean, cast your mind back a little bit. She was just almost crying to that protection officer that she needs this sorting out. She doesn't know where she's going to go tonight. Why is she laughing? Not got a clue that there's officers in that other room watching her, and they're watching her laugh. They've watched her go through every up and down depending on who's in that room. I mean, I thought she was smarter than that actually.
He said, do it, turn here, and I kept going ahead and do it. I mean, it's not funny, but I just can't believe that. And because I knew CVS was right there, and it was like, that was my goal with CVS. But right here, he goes, turn, and he took the wheel, because he took the wheel and tried to get me to turn right there where just the trees are. And I don't know how I did it, but I was like, I guess because I was down here, and I just did it back. And again, the fact that there were no cars coming or going was a miracle, but I just did it back. And I knew, because I knew in my head I was going to that spot. And so when I did that, and then I pulled up and I just parked and turned it off.
So I'm sorry, but in this next part, the camera's froze for a moment. It's only for a minute or two, and then it'll click back in. But what the detective is asking now is if she'll phone Brian Winchester, because they know, obviously they know that he's been texting her, he's been trying to call her and everything, and she doesn't like this. They're trying to trick her up, and she doesn't think that they're trying to trick her up. She thinks that they want her to call, because then if she says to him, well, where are you? He'll tell her. But obviously she's scared that he's going to bring up the case of Mike Williams. So she doesn't want to do this. Have a listen to this.
But his dad has also called me and wants me to call him, which I'm not going to, but that's just interesting because...
With his dad calling you, saying that's odd, would you be willing to do a control call to his dad to see if his dad says anything? Or to Brian himself?
Oh my gosh. Brian's going to ask me immediately, where are you? Why are you not at work? So, and then his dad, I don't know. mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to say I'm at the sheriff's department.
Right. Well, as far as anybody asking them where you're at, all you gotta do is tell them you have to go somewhere by yourself and think.
Yeah. Oh my God, I don't know, because I don't want to make him more mad before he even finds out, you know what I'm saying? And the point would be to try to get him to say stuff, like...
And to find out where he is, if he would wind up telling you.
She wants Brian Winchester caught, but this is too much of a risk for her. Now she's getting worried. The next person to walk into this office where she is David McCraney. Now, he's her brother-in-law. He's married to her sister Deborah, who's in another room waiting for her. But you know what? I like this guy because, I mean, he's between a rock and a hard place. He's in a very, very bad position here. He's got his wife and he's got his career. And then there's Denise. Even when she's speaking to him, she'll drain on him as well. She will involve everybody that she can to get what she wants. But he is a nice guy. He goes through like a mini interrogation, because she's only being interviewed, she's not being interrogated. Not supposed to be anyway. But he goes through this, what you see in interrogations, where they try to blame somebody else. It wasn't your fault. He goes through that. Now, at some stages I'm watching this and I'm thinking, because he's calling Brian a con man, and it's also like she's reeled in McCraney, like she's having him over as well. I'm not too sure. I don't know if he's just going through the procedure of what they do in interviews like this, or whether he really is being had over, which to me that makes a good interviewer, really. If you can't tell, I mean, we watch a lot of interviews us on YouTube, and it's very hard, because at sometimes I think, what are you talking about? It's like you're sticking up for her and you know what she's done, and then at other times he's really trying to dig and get stuff out of her. Yeah, which that's not going to go down obviously well with his wife, but however he's doing it. Just to add as well, David McCraney was the first one to mention Mike Williams' name. This might have been agreed between all the officers, that it'd be easy coming from you because it'd be natural to come from him, being family.
And then he pulled out something else, because it took him, it was heavy, so that's why I think it was some type of plastic, I'm pretty sure it was. Pulled all that out, shoved all that in this backpack, and then pulled something else out, and again, I don't know what it was. It was bigger than a hammer, wider than a hammer, but I don't know what it was. Put that in there, and then there was this bottle, like this big of like industrial bleach, like a bottle.
He told you he was there to kill himself this morning.
He told me that he had nothing else to live for, and that he wanted to kill himself. He told me that many times. He told me he bought the gun to kill himself, because I said, where did you get this gun? Because I've never seen a gun that you would kill people with. You know, he's just got the hunting guns. And he said, I bought it to kill myself.
What do you think he brought all the other stuff for?
I have no idea. Because at one point I asked him, I said, did you really plan on today being the day that you would both die? And he said, well, me. But then when I saw that other stuff, that doesn't make sense. So I don't, that's what he said. So I don't, that's what he said.
Denise, he was going to kill you, and for whatever reason he didn't go through with it. He brought that stuff because it would cover his tracks. And I'm sorry, you know that I love you, and I would never let anything happen to you. But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat stuff. You did the right thing by calling me, but Denise, he was going to kill you.
Well, then when he finds out after 4 o'clock that there's a restraining order, he's going to know that I told, and he's going to come for me.
I know, Denise. He did it, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think you had anything ever whatsoever to do, but he held that over your head forever. And he was going to do it again. He wasn't going to kill himself, Denise. He was going to kill you so that you couldn't talk about him later. That is the truth. I've been in this too long. I've talked to everybody I know over the years for 15 years about how and what we could do. 15 years ago, he walked in and told you he had done something. Didn't he?
No.
Denise.
No.
You have got, this is not going away. Okay, he's going to kill you. He's either going to kill himself because he's got no other avenue, but he's going to try and control you. He's going to try and stop people from talking about what he did. You say no. Would he go get Ansley and hold Ansley and call you and say, do what I say? Would he kill Ansley?
Would he? I don't think he would
Yes, he
kill
would.
me.
The only person that's important to him is him. He didn't bring that crap to kill himself and bury himself. He brought it to kill you and bury you and get rid of the problem because he knows he's got a problem.
He didn't say any of that.
This is not how divorces go. What did he ever say to you back then?
Back then about Mike?
About Mike?
I never had any reason to believe that he would do that. I never would have believed.
Doing what do you remember the time you went to Atlanta when you had a boyfriend up there and he showed up with a gun?
Yeah.
What makes you think he wouldn't do something like that?
I guess because, not now, but and obviously he loves the Lord. He was a Christian. That's why I married him. He was doing prison ministry. I was doing prison ministry. I had no reason, and I've never seen him like this. I've never seen him like
You
this.
saw him this way 14 years ago in Atlanta.
Not like this. This
I
was
understand.
different. This was very different.
All right.
This took it to a whole nother.
Knowing what you know over 15 years, do you think he would do something like that? Knowing what you know now? Because it took me a long time to wrap my eyes. I said, no. Knowing what you know now.
Even after today, even after everything that he said to me today, I do not believe, I don't. And I don't believe he was there to hurt me. He said over and over, I want to kill myself. I don't want to leave. I'm so miserable. I have nothing to live for.
It's plastic.
She doesn't believe that he's there to hurt her. So what are you doing there then, Denise? What are you there for? So why all of a sudden now Brian's not a murderer now? He wasn't going to do anything. You know, McCraney's been pacifying her at stages there, but then she's like, no, I don't believe. I don't know if this is her attempt at acting innocent so that McCraney takes it in hand to put her in a safe place and to make sure that they get Brian. I don't know which way she's playing this, but she's contradicting herself so much. She goes up and down. She's acting naive, and then she's mentioning, but he had bleach. You know, like most people wouldn't understand that, acting innocent, like I don't know what he's doing with bleach and a tarpaulin. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic watching her. It's painful because everybody knows she's a lot smarter than that. So she's starting to deflect. She's contradicting herself and she's just not making any sense at all. And if she thinks that this conversation's uncomfortable, wait till she gets to Mike Devaney.
I believe he had something to do with Mike. I absolutely believe it.
I do not, but this, what you're talking about has nothing to do with tonight. Tonight is what I'm worried about. When I go file this
It's the culmination of
thing,
everything.
he's gonna know.
Well, he's going to know no matter what, because he's going to jail today if we find him. Until we find him, do you think you're in danger?
Yeah,
Do you think Ansley's in danger?
yeah.
I believe you know enough about. He said something, he alluded to something. Why not, with his money and his youth, move on to something else? What is so important about keeping Denise?
So she's been trying to convince McCraney that, you know, he just doesn't want a divorce, he just wants me to speak to him and everything. And it just starts to become absolutely ridiculous. I mean, she's delusional. If she thinks that people are going to fall for that. And he just said to her, McCraney, what's so important about Denise? Well, she now realises that that thought is ridiculous, that nobody's going to buy that because they're just not. You know, she's kicked him out. He's not with her. He's sleeping with prostitutes. He's not sleeping with her. By the way, we do find out afterwards that after she did kick him out, she was sleeping with him here and there as well. So, and obviously Brian was sleeping with her because his life hangs in the balance with her mouth. He's obviously not that bothered about her. She's more bothered about him, but now she's going to have him over. But she's trying to convince us that he's kidnapped her because she wants a divorce. When she realises nobody's buying that, then she comes up with, well, I thought it might, well, maybe, I think it's money. I've always thought it's money. But McCraney eliminates that point and says, like, not hard up for money, got the offices, so even if you did split up, you'd get part of the house, you'd get half the offices. But the fact is, she knows that he is going to lose everything because all the assets are in her name. So he's not only going to lose his, he's lost his son by the looks of it. He's taken care of his best mate for her husband. He's lost his son. He's been having fallouts with Marcus. He has lost his first wife for her. Now he's going to lose where he does his business, which he does all the rentals for the offices, and he's going to lose his home, and he's going to go in Nick. And she thinks that's going to happen.
Which he has, because
I think he's afraid you're going to say something that he has said in the past. And this, by being married to you, is the only way he can keep control of that. Even if it's a little something, he has said something to you, Denise, at some point about...
Well, then I would really have to
McCraney also asked her about an email that she sent to her sister about a year ago, where she said, if anything happens to me, it was Brian. So she's vague about this now. She says she'll have to see it. She can't really remember. She does this a lot, Denise. When somebody's asking her about something and there's evidence and it's something tangible that they can have a look at or they've seen, she always says, I'll have to see it, which in turn means show me the evidence so then I know how to answer you. That was a very easy question. You said, well, you sent her an email last year. Oh, and she mentions one about a few years ago. I said, no, this was last year. You sent her an email. She obviously doesn't send her loads of emails. So why does she need to see it?
That was the emails last year, wasn't it? Like within the last year. What made you send that email?
I don't know. I guess I need to see it because I don't remember the details surrounding it. I don't know if he had what he had done. But again, there was.
If anything happened to me, Brian did it.
I don't know how to look at it because I don't know specifically what you're talking about. This.
When I mentioned earlier about Denise is quite happy to involve other people in things, McCraney here does agree that you can stay at mine. It is a bit of a risk because I've got Deborah, which is his wife, and his daughter, and Denise agrees that it is a bit of a risk. But the fact is that she's got a safe house that she can go to that they've arranged for her, and no, she'll go and stay at her brother-in-law's because he's a policeman and he'll look after her. What if Brian was going off his head and causing a lot of damage everywhere with what he's got on him? So I just don't get it at all. Why would she do that if she doesn't even care? She don't, to be honest, I don't think she cares about anybody. I don't even think she understands the meaning of the word, because even if her sister didn't have a child, you still wouldn't risk your sister's life in all this. But yeah, it's a bit risky. But yeah, I'll come and stay with you.
May have to find something to rent, or you have to stay with me, Deborah. There's plenty of room. We can work around it. He doesn't know where I live. Could he find out? Absolutely. But of all the places that he's going to come to, nowhere's perfectly safe, but it's probably the safest that I can think of. At least there's always someone there. And Denise, now I'm bringing my family into it. Parker and Deborah. We love you. I don't want anything to happen to you, honestly. All right, so I'm willing to accept that risk. And it's more real to me than anybody.
Craney gets stuck into this again, and he says to her, Ryan killed Mike. And she starts the tears and the whimpering. So again, let's not forget, not long ago she was laughing about what she was doing, and McCraney says to her, how old was Ainsley when this happened? And I mean, most people, most mothers or fathers in that situation, they would be saying, oh, they were 9 months old, they were 18 months old. And she says she was a baby. You know, like, it should be absolutely tattooed in her memory exactly what happened that day and where she was and what Ainsley was doing and when Ainsley last saw him and when she last saw him. But she's not. You'll see as she goes through this video, she's very blasé about what Mike did. And McCraney, you listen to McCraney and he does sound like a decent family man. He actually does say, you know, the day before this happened, that he saw Mike with Ainsley at the mall. And you know, he remembers that. So why can't she remember how old Ainsley was, or what they were doing that day? She remembers that they were supposed to be going for an anniversary. I mean, that's like a practice sentence to her. It's like she can't remember anything else but that. It's like she's rehearsed that. Yeah, we was going for an anniversary meal to celebrate, but anything during the day, she doesn't seem to remember.
Directing you, he had it thought out.
Obviously.
Okay, and I know I keep telling you about it, but I'm telling you, he killed Mike. And he did it for you because he wanted you. And I know that's hard, and I know it hurts. But by God, I'm telling you, that's what happened. How old was Ainsley then?
Baby.
Huh?
A baby.
Not even a year. He didn't care. I saw Deborah and I saw Mike the night before with Ainsley at the mall. And that's the last time I ever saw him. He didn't care about you. He didn't care about Ainsley. He only cares about himself. He made Mike disappear, and he was going to make you disappear today. And you have got to get that in your head. You don't ever have to tell me or anybody else about it, but at some point it needs to come out because he did it. I am telling you. I don't think you had anything to do with it, but he held that over you, and I'm sure at some point he told you something. And I'm not trying to get you in trouble because I don't think you did anything, Denise. But I'm telling you, he killed Mike, and he was going to kill you and make you go away. You need to hear that, and you need to hear it a lot. You were going to die today. You got lucky. Okay? Next time, it might be he catches Ainsley and you, and he kills Ainsley in front of you just to hurt you. And if you think he's not capable of that, think about the man who brought something to bury you with, who brought plastic, who brought bleach to cover his tracks. Why doesn't it make sense? He's nuts.
McCraney's talking about Mike Williams again, and she'd rather have a drink of water. The other thing is as well, she gets into the tears now. She was saying, oh, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I can't have a police officer living with me forever. I'm just not going to be safe. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's manipulating McCraney here, something chronic. And I don't know if he's falling for it or if he's playing the game with her. I'm not sure.
That's just not to be.
You watched Mike. I watched Mike stay in that office every night till 11 o'clock at night. All the time. Mike was so predictable. Every now and then I'd talk to him. And then I wouldn't get to talk to him. So predictable.
Yeah.
He waited for him that day. He was missing for 5 or 6 hours, Brian? The day of? Well, a lot of people know.
Missing?
Yeah. And that's when he killed Mike. You're sitting here today, you don't think he could kill Mike?
The person that I saw today is a person I don't know.
That person you saw today could kill Mike, couldn't he?
That person could.
And he did. And that's who he was then. He has conned you to no end. It's not your fault.
I mean, that person today could have done anything, anything.
McCraney knows. He knows about certain bits of evidence that's coming in. Don't forget as well, they've been working alongside Kathy Thomas, Brian Winchester's first wife. She's done the covert call to Denise. So they've got information from her as well. But at this stage now, McCraney's asking, was you sleeping with Brian on the day Mike got murdered? Now, I don't know. I didn't know at first whether he was asking at that time, when the day he got murdered, or was you actually sleeping with him on that day? I don't know. I don't suppose it matters really. But because either way, she says, no, you wasn't. You were sleeping with him since 1997, 2 years before Mike was killed. And having threesomes with Kathy. I'm not... You know, Kathy's part in all this. I said it in the other video as well. Yeah. I don't think they would have got the result they wanted without Kathy. So I'm glad she did that. But and obviously they didn't discuss with Kathy. Well, not obviously. I don't think they discussed with Kathy what they was going to do to Mike at all. So I don't think she was part of that conspiracy or of any sort. But I think she knew a lot sooner. Definitely. I think she was quite weak, and there's nothing wrong with being weak. That's fine. But there's sometimes, especially if there's been a murder, you've just, you can't be weak. You just can't.
And what we're talking about, Denise, I would never tell Deborah or your mom or anybody. This is just me and you. I swear I would never tell them. But were you sleeping with Brian the day that Mike disappeared?
No,
It didn't happen until later?
no, yeah.
Well, but he wanted you, there's no doubt about it.
So McCrane is also asking about why didn't she go into for the interviews with law enforcement when they said, will you come in and speak to us? Because she only had a couple of interviews, and she did them with her attorney at Marcus and Brian Winchester's offices, because there was actually attorneys working there, renting their offices. So she used them, and she only did the interviews there. But they did say, will you come in and speak to us? And she didn't. They asked her a couple of times and she didn't. Why would you not? Your husband's gone. Why would you not go in? You should be running down that street to go in and be interviewed to help. But no, she didn't. And they had to ask her again, and she just ignored that. She said she would, but she didn't.
Years ago when Mike Phillips and those guys at FDLE wanted to talk to you and Brian, y'all went and talked to him, why not?
I talked to Mike. I talked to Mike.
But they wanted you to come in and do an interview, and y'all didn't do it.
We did 2 interviews. We did interviews with, like, not local people. It was like federal people. I did one and he did one, and I think we did another one. But it was always in an attorney's office, and I don't remember. Mike Phillips came to my house one time and I talked with him there, but the official ones were with federal people, and it was more than one.
With a lawyer.
At an attorney's office, and they recorded it all, from what I remember.
Your attorney or Brian's attorney?
Well, I mean, he's an attorney who is friends with the Winchesters.
Who set that up?
Who set up the meeting?
Well, who set up the lawyer?
I would guess Marcus, because he's in that same little area where they all work together. I don't know, I don't really remember, but I do remember the location of the interviews were at the attorney's office, which is the same parking lot as Winchester Financial Group. Because I remember having to go there twice, I think, or 3 times.
What all they asked you, do you remember? Did y'all talk to him?
Yeah. We answered all these questions. I think there's a recording. I don't know. I don't remember.
McCrane is known all along something's not right. I'm not too sure whether he actually does believe Denise was involved in it. I think he just thinks that she was being a bit naughty at the time by sleeping with Brian when Mike was still alive. I don't know if he actually knows that she was part of this conspiracy to kill her husband. I don't know if he does know or he doesn't know, or he does know but he's acting like he doesn't in order to keep his wife, her sister, happy. I don't know on that one. He certainly thought it was suspect when the waders turned up, because everybody had been round that lake, and then all of a sudden they started turning up when the insurance was needed.
And as you think about things, and I know it's hard, I can't leave the mic thing alone, because I'm telling you, Denise,
I'll start thinking about
he not only did that, he choreographed the recovery of Mike's waiters. I was there for a week. And maybe that's what the fright is, that, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for that. Well, that's his doing. He did that. Okay? But I'm telling you, he is so manipulative. He is a murderer. He killed Mike. And I'm pretty sure the reason he was going to kill you today is he was afraid you was going to do or say something, or had speculation. And yeah, the financial is a big part of it. But I think it's way bigger than just the financial, because he had plenty of resources. He was going to get money from the house, going to get money from the the business being sold, the rental, the whole 9 yards. It wasn't just to take all that from you.
Craney also asked if Mike came home for lunch on the day of the murder, and she's very vague about all that. Again, she's just picking up her water and drinking her water. Every time she doesn't like it, that's what she does, and she just goes quiet. It should be engraved in her head on whether he came home for lunch that day, if only to remind and tell Ainsley about everything when she's grown up, you know, on what happened and when she last saw him and what he was last like with her. But she just says, oh, I don't remember. So how she kept Mike's memory alive? She's not at all. McCraney goes through what he assumed could have happened to Mike, or what he thought might have happened to Mike, and what he actually describes is a scenario that Denise and Brian was going to do, which was he gets attacked while he's at work at the end of the night. But Denise didn't want this because she wanted it to be an accident, because if it was in work there'd be too many cameras, there'd be a bigger investigation, is what she told Brian, and it had to be something like an accident. But I just thought it was really weird, and McCraney was practically guessing what their first plan was.
He's calculating, he's cold. I would hate to know the confrontation between him and Mike. I'm sure it was at gunpoint, but Mike thinking he's a friend, but there's no doubt there was a confrontation.
I just never...
Do you think Mike came home for lunch that day?
Huh?
You think Mike came home for lunch that day?
Came home for lunch?
Yeah. I know he was always at the office.
I don't know. I remember it was our anniversary trip.
The next day.
The next day. I remember that. I don't remember lunch. But I just...
But do you think Mike would have come home from Ketchum to have lunch that day?
I have no idea. I'll have to look back at my notes and stuff. I don't even remember.
And I always assumed that he got Mike at the office. I mean, I would always see Mike. I worked midnights back then, 9 to, or 10 to 8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always see Mike sitting up there working. And every now and then, maybe once a month, I'd stop in or catch him on his way out or whatever, say hello. But I always thought that that's where he got him. But the timeline doesn't match up. He was missing during the day.
Mike was missing during the day?
Mm-hmm. Brian was.
I remember being home with Ainsley and making phone calls. I remember her crib. She had a crib.
It was a Friday, right?
But I remember that he was supposed to be there because we were going to go and a babysitter was coming, or Deanna was coming. I don't know.
Just before she comes to the end with David McCraney, she's saying things like, so do you think I should still pursue the divorce? I mean, what the most ridiculous statement to make, and that just epitomises really how pathetic and how ridiculous some of the things are that she's saying. She's stopped talking to him for 2 months nearly, so why would she say that? And the divorce was put in place in 2012 and this is 2016. So alas, David McCraney has got to leave now. He's got to leave the room, and I've got to say, I think he pushed it as far as he could under the circumstances of who he is and everything. He's pushed it further than anybody else. The others, like Wilkerson, he tried to find out about the text messages. I think that was a massive clue to the investigators in the other room, exactly how much she was involved in all this. Yeah, so he has to leave the room, and this is when the fun really starts.
And as far as the divorce goes, we have a deadline of Wednesday for stuff that he's not going to do. And so with that, I should just keep pursuing that, just keep on that.
Why would you not?
I don't know. Just when I think about him being mad.
So then in walks Mike Devaney. Oh, what a big mistake, Denise. Just playing on your phone again, still texting people in between. She barely looks up at him. She barely acknowledges that he's walked in the room until he introduces himself.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fine. We have never met. My name is Mike Devaney. How you doing? Do you know that name at all?
No.
Okay, I'm with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Now he's asked her if his name means anything to her, and it doesn't. And she thinks that, you know, he's just like the rest of him that she's had over. And I believe her. It probably doesn't, because she can't even remember Mike's last day. She can't remember really when she last saw him, or even how old her baby was at the time. So, yeah, he says, do you remember? Now that name should mean something, because he tells her he's with Florida law enforcement. Now let's not forget, Cheryl wrote a 27-page letter to Florida law enforcement to reopen this case in 2004, and that's exactly what happened. Even though nothing came up, that's when the case was reopened again. You know, she's still relaxed and not one bit concerned about who he is. And then she gets the drift of his tone, and then she starts to take note, starts to get uncomfortable, and then she starts a drink of her water.
Okay. I've literally known you, and I've known your family for many, 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 many years, okay? The reason I say that is, you know, I've been looking into Mike's disappearance, okay? Literally dissected as much as I could about you know, members of your family, Brian, Mike, and, you know, his family, and the family when you and Mike were together, okay? Worked with a lot of people, you know, trying to figure out the whole scenario of his disappearance, and had to go back and literally reinvestigate a lot of things that was investigated before, okay? And again, I had to go back to y'all's marriage, and what were you doing during those times? What were you doing job-wise? And Mike, you know, and Mike's employer, the whole works, okay? What you all own, what you didn't own. And this has been an ongoing process for a long time. And you need to understand that, okay? Where do you think Mike's buried at?
Oh, I have no idea.
Any speculation on that?
On where he's buried?
Buried.
I mean, I believe...
You don't really believe he died on the lake?
I do.
Why?
Just listen very closely to this, and listen to what he's asking her and what she does.
I just always have. That's what I believe. And I have, from when he was saying roundabout, I don't know, I talked with the last two people, and I can't remember if he wanted me to turn left or right.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Her head is going woo. Her head is spinning. I'll play that again for you.
I just always have. That's what I believe. And I have, from when he was saying roundabout, I don't know, I talked with the last two people, and I can't remember if he wanted me to turn left or right.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Why do you think Mike perished in the lake? Because he didn't die in Lake Seminole, okay?
That's what I've always believed, that's what I believe.
And why?
I've never been proven anything different.
Well, is there any proof if he would have perished in that lake, he would have been found, okay? There's never been a person that has fallen over or whatever that they've never found except for Mike. I mean, that's literally, it's an impossibility that he died in that lake.
I guess that's just what I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Mike did not, again, perish or die on Lake Seminole, okay? Please understand that. Were you and I guess you, Mike, Kathy, and Brian, y'all were pretty close before Mike disappeared, right?
Yeah.
How close were y'all?
I mean, I would say we talked pretty much every day. We were very close.
Yeah.
I'm still very close with Kathy.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, again, we researched, trips y'all used to make to Orlando and some other stuff. Apparently you were really close, okay? And you know what I'm talking about?
Me and Kathy she's texting me right now, so we're still very close.
Okay. If I say we're totally aware of all the videos, you probably know what I'm talking about.
If you say what?
The videos?
I would have to see them.
Well, that's not going to happen.
she knows exactly what Devaney's talking about with these videos. But again, she'll have to see them. I mean, as if they're going to put all the evidence down in front of her and then say, what do you think about this? But she actually believes that she only has to ask for something and they'll give it to her. She'll get what she wants. Because as I said before, this is how it works for Denise. She's already lied to McCraney about when she started seeing Brian. But in her head now, she must know that these videos that they've got were taken when Mike was alive. So that's evidence that this was going on long before Mike was murdered. I'm not quite sure how Devaney got hold of these videos. I believe, I'm thinking it must have been Kathy that gave it to them. I don't think they've had it all these years. I think this is something that Kathy's passed over to them. If it was Kathy that passed over these videos to the police, that's payback. This is karma. This is what karma does.
You're clueless when I say videos.
Yeah.
You Kathy and Brian?
I would have to see him.
Yeah. You have no idea what I'm talking about. You don't say you've got to see him.
No, I'm just starting to feel very uncomfortable.
Okay.
But
Well, I've been uncomfortable for a long time because we needed some things on this case.
right.
And we were hoping one day that either Brian or you maybe could fill in some of the gaps there, fill in a piece of the puzzle.
Right. But I guess right now I need to focus on this and what happened this morning, and I want to get this restraining order done by 5 o'clock, and I want me and my daughter to be safe, and that's what I'm focused on.
There's no doubt that Brian's going to be located and put in jail. So I would imagine he's not going to immediately be wanted out under the circumstances and the crimes that he has committed. Okay.
I don't know. But I just want to get this restraining order done so that I can have a little peace for tonight with my daughter. That's what I'm focused on.
Well, if he's arrested, the next few hours, which I'm sure is going to happen, Leon County is very good about finding people, okay? That's going to happen. When Brian is arrested, which will happen, he is going to probably provide another side of whatever happened today. You're aware of that?
From this morning?
Yeah.
I have no idea what he's going to say.
Well, that's what people usually do. They give there's.
And then she starts clicking a pen because she needs to fill this form out. She starts doing all that in front of Devaney, but he still just carries on because these are the types of things that work for her. Like, she'll just go round in circles with things, or go, do you think I should still go through with the divorce? And do you think he will do this to me? Yes, it was bleach. What do you think he wanted to do with it? I mean, she's not even good at it, to be fair, but people seem to have fallen for it. That phone, by the way, has been in front of her half the day that she's been in there. Well, these interviews was over 3.5 hours long, and every time they've gone out the room, the first thing that she's done is go to her phone and start texting people. So she's not filled that form in, but now all of a sudden I need to do this. It's 3:30 and this needs to be done by 5 o'clock, and I want to concentrate. I've had a terrible day. I need to do this right now. So now she doesn't want to talk now. No, we've listened to her with McCraney, Wilkerson. She was even laughing with Wilkerson. If you cast your mind back, she was laughing with him about it all. It was all so funny, and she was rabbiting on about it. Well, now she doesn't. Now she needs to do this.
Kathy's ever talked about that?
I'd have to talk with her. But again, I want to focus on this. And if I understand that this is what you want to talk about.
Well, this thing today, it's kind of a done deal. We know what happened. It's going to be verified in the video and all that. Whether Brian admits to what he did to you today, he did it.
Right.
And once they arrest him, I'm sure they're going to find some of the things that you talked about.
I hope so.
And that's kind of a done deal. Okay. But obviously things have been building for a long time.
Well, we've been separated for a long time.
Yeah.
But for me, again, I want to file this restraining order before 3:30. Before 5. So I don't know. It's 3:30 right now. I just want to make sure that I have time to do that. That's my priority right now.
Well, I know what time it is. I wish I could just fill in some of the pieces of the puzzle. I'd much rather get it from you than from Brian, because when he's arrested, I'm going to talk to him too.
That's fine.
I want to see what he says. Okay.
idea.
You're
I guess we'll
not a
see.
clue. Not a clue.
Even Devaney offers her a lifeline. He can see she's not going to give anything, because in her head Brian is going to go away. She's not going to speak. Brian's going to go away. This is how she's worked it all out. It's playing out in her head, and this is what's going to happen. As I said, because this is how things do happen for Denise. So Devaney is offering her a lifeline, and she's insistent on not taking it, because she thinks the other option of keeping her mouth shut and Brian going away for life is a better option for her, and that is her arrogance at its best.
But I guess what I'm saying is about the Mike situation that you want to talk about. I don't want to talk about this right now.
Really? Would you talk about it later?
I don't want to talk about this right now. I want to get this settled first.
This is settled.
It's not settled to me, though. I have not gone down. I have not filed the restraining order, and that's what is pressing on me so bad. So I understand that you want to talk about this, but this is what I want to do. This is what has to be done.
Yeah,
Today.
You got some time. We're almost done. All right. Well, you know why it's so important to talk to you about Mike. This was your husband. He simply vanished. Hopefully you still have an interest in that.
Well, again, this is my priority right now, and I'm not comfortable talking about this right now. I've had an unbelievable day, and it's just all too much right now.
We knew that one day there would be a blow up. We predicted that.
There was.
Oh, I don't think it's finished yet as far as people talking about different things.
No, but
She knows that Devaney in that room is not pissing about with her. He means business. And now she's talking about what happened today, but now she's not sure if it was bleach. She's not quite sure what was in that bag now. Everything's changes now. She's convinced every officer that has gone in there today, even the protection officer, he had a plastic sheet and bleach. What do you think he was going to do with that? Oh, I really can't believe he would kill me. And then now she's not quite sure. She knew by saying that they've got to follow information that they're given, and obviously they couldn't risk anything. They would have to get him in if that was the case, and the fact that he had a gun, obviously. But she knew that would grab attention, so she stuck with that. Whether she was right about that or wrong about it, she stuck with it. But now she can see somebody in front of her that's not listening to all the bullshit, and he's being pushy with her. Now she's questioning it, that she might be wrong actually, because she's got nowhere to run really at the moment. She could walk out of there if she wants, and this is where Devaney is on dicey ground here, because obviously he doesn't want her to walk out, so he's pushing her just far enough, just enough to make her uneasy, talk a bit, and try and get something out of her. As I said, she's not giving nothing away. He's offered her that lifeline and she's refused it. She's stupid. She's been offered that lifeline probably about half a dozen times today, and every time she's pushed back on it, because there's only one outcome for her, and that's what she's decided in her head.
You don't have plastic and whatever the other two was.
And again, I hope that backpack's still there. I hope they can, whoever, the police can pull it out and see exactly, you know what I'm saying? Because it was a turn, a couple glimpses, and that was it. But I'm pretty sure I'm right. But I would like to know myself, did I see this right? Did I, you know what I mean? Like, what was in there? I would like to know.
We'll find out.
Just to confirm.
When they find him, I'm sure that they'll eventually get to whatever that was. All right?
I hope so.
That's down the road. I'm going to leave on this note. I was hoping you could fill in some of the pieces of that puzzle. You haven't. We arrest Brian, he might. Okay?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, just think about what you said. All right?
Okay.
Let me step out, see if I can find somebody to take
Thank you.
Put it in.
Devaney does finish off. He does say, you know, I'm not leaving on that note, and he does tell her, once we get hold of Brian, he will speak. And yeah, she's just like, oh, we'll just have to see what he says. She doesn't think for a minute that he's gonna throw her under the bus, like she's throwing him under the bus. That hasn't occurred to her at all. She just thinks by telling Brian that she's not going to speak about what happened to Mike, that he's just gonna wander off into some prison for life. And yet she didn't speak. He's there because he kidnapped me. That's why he's there. Because, as I've said before, that's what she decided. And Devaney has more or less told her now that he's practically saying to her, you've had a chance, and now we're going to go and listen to Brian and see what Brian's got to say. So this other officer comes in at the end, and he's just tying things up. He's just more or less telling her that they've picked Brian up, and straight away she's rabbiting away like, you know, where was he? And she wants to know quite a lot of things. They're not going to give it to her because they just can't. They're not allowed. So, but she's asking questions, and then she starts emphasising again about the prostitutes and this and that. She, in her head, she's putting the case forward already. So I can prove that for you. You know, if like he's going to go to court, for that, for going with prostitutes as well. My God.
So he got arrested and went to jail, to the jail?
No, he's not in jail yet.
Oh, well, did they arrest him? Or what did they do in the parking lot? Like,
They brought him back here. He's in this building.
oh. And then what will happen?
We're going to interview him based on everything that took place.
Okay.
That last officer as well, by the way, he was actually at school with her. They went through graduation together. So they've got hold of Brian, and yeah, he appears in court on the 10th of August. And Denise is there doing her little victim speech. I'm not going to play it all, just a little bit. But the little bit that I want you to hear is the fact that she's now called Denise Williams. So all day today, she's been Denise Winchester, and we're 5 days on, and she's become Denise Williams.
Start by stating your name, please.
Denise Williams.
You wish to make a statement to the court?
Your Honor, I'm here today to ask you to sentence Brian Winchester to the maximum penalty under the law for the crimes that he committed against me on August the 5th, 2016. He will finish what he has started, no matter what age he is when he's released. For all of these reasons, I'm asking you to sentence him to life in prison for the crimes he has committed. It comes down to my life or his, and I'm asking you, please, to choose mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Personally, I think she should have gone back to Merrill, because she doesn't deserve that name Williams. She doesn't deserve the name Winchester, to be fair, and that's not brilliant. But yeah, now she's Denise Williams. Why has she gone back to? Why has she not gone back to her maiden name? Why has she gone to Williams? Because it looks good. So as you know, if you've seen the previous video that I did just on the case, I just went right through the case. Brian strikes up a plea deal so that he can't be sentenced for the murder of Mike Williams. So he gets no further time put on. It's 20 years. It's 20 years done, dusted. And Denise gets, well, she gets 30 years in life to run concurrently, although she does appeal that because they take off the murder charge and change it to conspiracy to murder, but they still hand her a 30-year prison sentence. So Brian Winchester's release date is the 30th of July 2036, and Denise Merrill, I'm going to call her Denise Merrill, her release date is May the 5th 2047, so 11 years after Brian. Yeah, and that's where she deserves to be as well. I just want to say something as well, without going into it too deeply, on Denise's daughter. I do actually think Denise's daughter is also a victim. I know she won't see herself as that. When you're around somebody all your life, you don't expect them to be lying to you. the fact is the evidence speaks for itself. But the other point, which is not her daughter's fault, is you don't believe that your mum lies to you. You just don't. You just believe. And when you see your mum in a vulnerable position, which Denise is in, then your heart will go out. You know, obviously it's her mother, so she's not going to see what we all see. She's just not. But she did say in her statement, just briefly, that, you know, she was reminded every day of her father at home and things like that. No, because if that's the case, and also that her mum wanted her to find somebody that was just like her dad. Well, yeah, I think anybody would want that for her. You know, that's what she deserves. I mean, she's had this round her neck as well. But do you know what I actually think? I think because Denise, in her statement, in her appeal and everything else, she still didn't admit and still didn't show any remorse. She gives some kind of ridiculous explanation to the only thing that I'm guilty of is when people haven't got like as much as her, and she's always blamed them for it. I mean, what's that got to do with anything? And that she taught inmates to read and write while she was in there. Well, what's all that got to do? It's got nothing to do with it. She's still not held her hands up, and I don't think she realises that. If she'd have come forward and said, look, this is what I did, I was infatuated with Brian, and you know, I went and did this, I think she might have got off a bit lighter. I don't know, but I think, and the fact that she's dug her heels in and she's still sat there saying, yeah, no, it was nothing to do with me. That's why she's doing 30 years, because she won't admit to it. And with that, in a way, she's given like her daughter a life sentence as well, because if she sat down and said the truth, then her daughter would have the answers and be able to get over it. I mean, how do you explain to your daughter that your father was the best father ever, yet I didn't champion Cheryl in her lobbying or anything like that, and I stopped you seeing her? How do you explain that away? That Cheryl stopped her getting on with her life? That's still no reason. That's still no reason. I mean, and if you use the excuse, oh, I didn't want her around that all the time, I wanted her to live her life and everything else. That doesn't matter. She could have gone and, you know, arranged all that with Cheryl. She could have done all these things, but she didn't. She put everybody through it. Well, now she's where she deserves to be, doing her 30 years, and I don't think she should be anywhere else but in prison. So yeah, so guys, I'm gonna say stay safe, good night, and come back. Bye.
Or anything you want to say at all.